I'm Dr. Angela McBrady of DoctorFlute.com, and today's practice with me is practice the Köhler Etudes number 1, the swing. I have in front of me the Köhler Etudes. There are different publications of them, but I have a publication of the Köhler Etudes on my website. You can go and download the swing, and then you can take it and look at it with me while we play through it and I teach through this particular etude. It's a beautiful etude. It has a lot of romance in it, as they're called. These etudes are called the romantic etudes. And the reason why we have romantic etudes, it's not because they're about love, but it's about pulling things out of the music that you, the performer, get to put in. Some would say, oh, you could schmaltz it up a little bit. You get to really play around with the notes and the tempo a little bit more than in the time period before the classical period or the Baroque period. So for these etudes, you really get to explore your musicality and what you feel like bringing out in the etude. So let's look at the Romantic Etude, Opus 66, number 1. Some editions call it the swing. If you don't have it, go download it from my website at DoctorFlute.com. Let's just take a look at the beginning of this etude. You have this opening here. So you have an introduction to the opening when you're doing these G and E back and forth. And then you start. So you want to treat the opening as an introduction. You want to look at it, play it, and phrase it that way so that when you get to the actual opening of the melody, which is here, you phrase it, you set it perfectly in place. So I'm going to go from the 16th notes in measure 3. Make sure I articulate that first E in measure 4 to indicate that now I'm ready to start. Now is the beginning of the melody of this etude. Now take a look, once we're here to the melody, which is in measure 4, look at this etude. It's really in groups of 2. If I take away the introduction, so really starting in measure 4, and you'll see this is a group of 2. Here's the next group of 2. Now here's another group. That last group of 2 gives me a little bit of a cadence point. Now, you can follow this pattern all the way through. You have these groups of 2. They're doing the same thing and maybe a tiny bit of a change at the end to show that we are going to maybe a new phrase or ending a phrase. So go through and find all your groups of 2. The next thing that you want to do is go through and find all your cadence points. I took mine and I put a C for every cadence point that I found. And we were just at a cadence point. So if I start in measure 4 and play to the cadence, that is your cadence points. If you don't know what a cadence is, it's where a phrase ends. It's the natural resolution of a phrase. So you can clearly hear right there. Also, there's a little indication because there's an 8th rest that you are ending the phrase right there. And you can hear that we've built up to it and now we're pausing. Then we repeat the opening phrase. Okay, let's just talk about phrasing for a few minutes. Köhler here is very regular. Pretty much across the board in all of the etudes in this Opus 66. They are regular 8-bar phrases. If you look, you have sort of a question in the first 4 bars of the phrase and an answer in the second 4 bars. So let me demonstrate again here, starting in measure 4. I'll play 4 measures, pause, that's your question. Then I'll play the next 4, that's your answer. That's your question. There's your answer. Okay, and we're going to continue that way. Here's your question. There's your question. There's your answer. Now it changed slightly because it took that same phrase but gave you a little bit of a different answer at the very end. Okay, now that brings us up in a new section in this Köhler etude, and that is still going to be in groups of 2. So let's look at the first group of 2. Here's the second. All right, so those are similar, tiny bit different. Those are your first 4 bars. That's your question. Now here's the new part, the answer part of that phrase. The first, there's 1. Here's our other part of the group of 2. All right, and here we go. That now here it's interesting because you don't have the clear-cut cadence. You still have 8 bars, but when you play this in measure, I think that's 27. There's no clear stopping spot, but that is still your cadence because when you get to measure 28, you're starting the second group of 8. That's your question. And there's a cadence, clearly, because now we're going to lead back into the opening section again. So you can see that opening section changed a little bit at the end of those 8-bar phrases because we're heading into the ending. So Köhler's giving us a little bit of a different flavor here at the end. But we're still doing groups of 2. We're still doing 8-bar phrases with a cadence at the very end. And then we end, if you look at the last 3 bars, you see that you're ending very much like you began. We kind of have an outro like we had an intro at the beginning. So the ending, I'm going to just play the last 4 measures. So the beginning went from quarter notes to eighth notes to sixteenths in the intro, and at the very end, your last 4 measures, you're going from sixteenths to eighths to quarters to a half note. So he's very regular. He likes symmetry. He likes it to work out. It's a very fun etude to work on. It's really pretty, and I just find it quite enjoyable to work on. A couple other things other than the phrasing, the remembering where your cadence points are to make sure you aim towards those, that you're seeing those 2-bar groupings always through here. He likes that group of 2, but you're also going to think, how smooth can I get my fingers? They need to just, it's a swing, right? So a swing doesn't have any jerky movements. It's just going back and forth. And you can hear that swing as you're going down and back up. But another part of this is really ear training, because you have a lot of 1 and 5 chords, and these are arpeggiated. So you're hearing these contrasting 1 to 5, 1 to 5. Of course, there's other chords in here, but you're hearing that. You're moving into the relative minor. You can move into A minor because you're beginning in C major. And it's a lot of ear training. So let your intonation be led by the chords and really listen to your intonation as you're playing. That's how I would approach the swing, and I would tell a student to work on these things. Little bit by little bit. Don't try to work on intonation and phrasing and the notes all at the same time. Get them to come. As you get familiar with it and you get it in your ear, you'll hear more of how the phrasing works, how you approach that cadence, and these groups of 2 all the way through there. It's a great etude to work on. Have fun working on this etude. If you like this video, press the like button, comment below, share it with your friends, and subscribe.